I think every week I look, and every week I wonder, am I live? And apparently I am. We've lost Al Pisano. He isn't here yet. We sent him an invitation, but he didn't turn up. So maybe he's just off enjoying himself out there in Colorado. In the meantime, first of all, let me say good morning to my spirit guide, Gregel, who is, as always, standing to my right side. And you can't see him, but snuggled up to me, close on my lap, is my darling boy, Cachorro. And to my right, I have Carolyn. Carolyn, say good morning.
Good morning, Carolyn.
And oh, there he is. And we also have to my far right, we have Michelle. Michelle, say good morning.
Good morning.
I'll give you some news about Carolyn and Michelle in a little bit. And there we are. Al, can you hear us?
I can. Good morning. I had four people ring my doorbell at the same time. So.
Oh, really? All right. Okay, then.
But I'm here now.
Do I have to click on you? Hold on one second.
On yourself, yeah.
No, I've got to click on me. Wait. There. All right. I'm sorry. What was that about the doorbell?
We have repairs going on in the house, so I had two people come at once. But they're all set now. I'm ready to go.
Good, and they're doing a good job. I hope.
I hope so too. I'll have to check on them in a little bit.
You know, having had some awful experiences, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had awful experiences. I'm playing with this screen while I'm talking to you. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had awful experiences. But now, if I have anybody doing any repairs or any cleaning jobs or anything that is going on in my house, wherever possible, I make sure that I am there. I used to have builders in when I was in Vermont. I had some builders in, and they used to hate it when I came to check on them because they call me Hawkeye, because I pay attention to the little details, and they didn't always like that. But I think it's very wise when you're having work done or you're having people in your house to always keep an eye on what they're doing, so that there's no miscommunication. If they're doing something you don't like, you tell them and you say, no, I'd rather you do it this way or this way. And usually if you tell them with a nice attitude, Al, they're nice, aren't they? They do what you ask them to do. Don't you find that?
Yes, you could always be cordial in your ask, but firm, right? Cordial
but firm. I actually have, the saying, the iron fist in the velvet glove.
Yes,
that's me. I have this soft way of speaking, and I always smile, and I always ask nicely. But there's something about me, I don't know what it is, that most people do understand that there's something deadly in lurking within me, that if they don't do what I'm asking them to do, they might get the rough end of things. And I don't know why that is, but people do get afraid of me sometimes. I wonder why. Do you find that, Al, that people get afraid of me sometimes?
I've seen it once or twice that people get intimidated by you.
Carolyn's sitting here. Do you find that, Carolyn?
Yes, I do.
She said, yeah, yes. Ooh. Yes, I do. I don't know why it is, because I'm a nice person most of the time, aren't I?
Yes.
My daughter might argue. She would say, yeah, you're a nice person most of the time. But it's those times when you're not that people have to watch out, right? Okay. I don't know how we got onto this subject. But anyway, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the show. We're raring to go, I think. I'm hoping. Do we have any questions already?
Yes, we do.
I know that people like to get in early and get their questions, so I'm sort of ready and ready to do my best to answer. We do want to talk this morning a little bit about because I think it's a good subject, actually. We do want to talk a little bit throughout the morning about healing, because we did have a question from Denise, who asks, can we actually control what is happening to our body? I'm not quite sure how she put the question, but it's something on the lines of, if we wanted to, can we give healing to ourselves and and actually does it work? So I'd like to talk a little bit about that, Alan. I know you know more about that as well, having given healing lots and lots of times. So we'll come back to that subject in a minute. But first of all, Carolyn, let's have a look and see what questions we do have this morning.
We've got Albertine.
Good morning, Albertine.
Hello, Rosemary. People who are being treated for cancer, such as radiation or chemotherapy, this heavy treatment, does it also affect their aura?
Yes. I mean, everything that happens to us, our aura, which, as most of you will know, you've heard me talk about it before, our aura or our energy field. And, you know, years ago when mediums used to talk about seeing people's energy and seeing lots of color around people, scientists would poo-poo the idea and think it was nonsense, until, of course, that wonderful couple, Semyon and Valentina Kirlian, developed the Kirlian photography. They developed a camera which was able to photograph the aura. So now people who used to poo-poo the idea now do understand that everything, every living thing, every living, breathing thing has an energy, has an energy field around it, and we can actually photograph it. We can actually see it. Very often we see it in colors. We call that energy field the aura, or some people call it the aura, basically meaning the energy field around us. And that energy field, Albertine, it extends several feet beyond us, which means that when we're walking through a supermarket, or it means that if we're sitting on the sofa, a bit of a crowded sofa we've got here today, I have to tell you, when we're sitting on a sofa with people, or when we're sort of connecting with people who, you know, who within just even a foot or two away from us, it means that if our aura is extended several feet out, our energy field, and their aura is the same, it means that there are times when auras mingle, they come together. We know, of course, that, you know, and I was talking to somebody about this just the other day, if you have someone come to visit you, you're in a great mood, right? You're happy and you're really having a good day, and someone comes to visit you who is depressed or simply just a moaning ninny, you know, very often you spend an hour with them, they go away, and you feel, for some reason or another, you feel really depressed or you feel down. It's because you have allowed their aura to affect your aura, as opposed to you affecting somebody else's aura. So it's our job to make our aura as positive and as clear as we possibly can. Now, when we are sick, and whatever treatments we are having during that sickness, of course, it shows in the aura. The aura becomes the energy, our energy becomes perhaps somewhat diminished. It becomes darker. It becomes, you know, perhaps more negative. And when we are, you know, sort of in those machines that again affect the energy that is around us, of course it's going to affect us too. So our aura it's very important to us to be aware of our aura, and it's very important for us to have a very positive attitude and to build our energy and to make sure that our energy and our energy field is as bright and as clear as we can possibly make it. There are things that we can do to help that. We talk about this in our online course, right, Al? We talk about building your energy and making sure that it's as bright and clear as it possibly can be. And so coming back to what I first started with, the question, can we, or can the mind, or can we affect our health? We can, by building our energy, by adding colors to our aura, visualizing colors to our aura, which are healing colors. The color blue is the universal healing color. The color green brings peace, denotes peace and calm and so on. So there is a way of infusing our energy with that beautiful aura that can sustain us and can build our energy and can often also affect us in a physical sense. There are lots of examples of that, which I write about in actually most of my books, if not all of my books, how our auras, how we mind over matter, how we can affect our energy, our aura, and how we can, you know, sort of improve our health tremendously. Al, do you want to add anything to that before we move on to or do
Yeah,
you want
just I think your aura expands naturally sometimes too, right? You see your grandchild, you see a loved one, right?
Yes, yes, of
And
course. I
and
mean, because
and
it is
that,
a natural thing. It's a natural energy field. This energy is within us, but it also shines out beyond us. And everything is energy, as Semyon and Valentina Curlion proved with the camera. It's amazing, isn't it? Uh, if you go back a century or two, or even three or four, or even a few years, maybe let's go back 50 years when mediums used to talk about auras, and people used to poo-poo the idea. I can't remember how long the Curlian photography has been about. I didn't know all the dates, but I can't remember. But people say, "Oh no, that's not possible," because science tells us it's not possible. But a true scientist, as a scientist friend of mine pointed out, a true scientist is someone who is always open-minded and will never say no to anything. Will never say that things aren't possible, because every day we're finding new things, we're finding new discoveries, we're finding new ways to use energy, and so on. So, and as I'm talking to you, I've got my puppy. He's got his head in my lap, and his energy is melding with mine. I'm trying my best to give him some healing this morning. All right, Al, let's have another question, shall we?
so we have James.
Good morning, James.
He asks, could you talk about the SNU, Spiritual Nation Union, as you're from the UK, and in your books you speak
Yeah,
about it.
okay, the Spiritual National Union. Yeah, okay. What do you want me to say?
He's just like, can you talk about it? You speak in your books about the development in the SNU.
Yeah, well, in England, several years ago, many years ago, the government decided to step in when, let's go back a little bit longer. For years and years and forever, actually, since there have been spiritualist churches, there have been healers, there have been people giving healing, for sort of infinitum, beyond. There have been healers since we've been on this earth. There have been people who are able to heal. But then, there was this huge resurgence. I'm going to say maybe somewhere in the 80s or something. The Spiritist Association of Great Britain is called the SGB. Something like that. I can't remember now. It's been so long since I've been there. But they've been around forever and ever and ever. And they have their own mediums, and they have their own training, and so on and so forth. That doesn't mean necessarily that everybody who belongs to the SAGB is, great. It just means that they're an organization trying to do their very, very best. So so the government decided at some point that there should be government control over this, and I was one of those very few who actually applauded this, and in fact wanted to put it into place. And I remember going to a meeting years ago when, lots of different spiritual organizations joined together and were complaining and saying that it was wrong, that it was not anything that the government should get involved in. But because there have been so many charlatans, and because there have been so many people who say they can do something when they actually can't, I, for one, stood up and said, I think we should have guidelines, and I think we should be held to account. And there were the naysayers, and I remember at this meeting there were the naysayers there who said, that this is wrong and so on. And I was a person who stood up and said, look, we are taught, God tells us if it is good, it will prosper, and if it is not good, it won't. And we should trust in God, and we should just, whatever the government wants us to do, yes, fine, that we should have guidelines. But so I was actually asked at that time if I would join this new committee, because I have strong opinions, I suppose. But I was very involved with my own healing organization and said absolutely no. Then since that time, I have on many occasions been approached by the SNU, by the Spiritual Association of Great Britain. I have been approached, my team have been approached because they have wanted my my training program because it's good. Whereas the SAGB were saying, you know, a 2-year training course was enough for their healers, my team and I thought 3 years was way better. But we do have a serious training program, and it's, you know, it's a very thorough training program. Even though I have said no, let me explain why I have said no, that I'm not going to give my training program up to anybody else. My training program is devised by me and, of course, Grey Eagle, devised and put into practice by me and Grey Eagle. And why would I give it over to people who perhaps don't even understand what it's about? They don't understand what the training program is. They've never been through the training program. And I think if you have a training program, if you haven't been through it yourself and learned from it yourself, how can you possibly teach anybody else? And that's the end of that. I feel as if I've gone on and on and on about this, James. I hope, I don't know what it was you wanted particularly, but that's pretty much where we stand. The SAGB is an amazing organization. There are some extremely good mediums who belong to that. I also know there are some who are not so good. I do wish that most spiritual organizations would be more discerning about allowing people to claim mediumship. I mean, anybody can do it, but to be certified and to have an organization behind you, it means that you should be absolutely tip-top, 100% right in what you're doing and in the reasons that you're doing it. So I'm a great believer in governments getting involved and making sure that people are not being taken advantage of. That's what I'm going to say about that.
Twiggy Leaf has a question.
I know that you two have been fidgeting away there. What's been going on? It's got two young ladies here on the sofa fidgeting away. What's going on then?
Nothing in particular.
Let's have Twiggy Leaf's question then. Good morning, Twiggy.
Is there a healthy way to experience negative emotions like anger and sadness?
Well, yes. I mean, you know, I think that, you know, sort of looking, you know, I teach my students about, you know, going back and looking at some of the memories, some of the harsher memories that we have as children. I think that so many of us are literally disabled by our negative thinking or the negativity that we had when we were children, and it's very, very hard to find our way back. Our, you know, our negativity, either through childhood, through the way people treated us, has a great deal to do with our, you know, lack of self-worth, our lack of self-confidence. And I think that sort of looking back, understanding that, you know, usually in these cases where people are mistreated or people have, you know, awful memories, for instance, usually in these cases, you know, we're made to feel, and I speak of myself in this, we're made to feel less than. And looking back, I think, and you know, sort of with our eyes open in an adult way, we can see that it wasn't us that were less than. It was those people who put these situations onto us, those people who did mistreat us, those people who perhaps didn't even know how to handle us themselves because, you know, nobody taught them. So I think that pain and heartache are the gifts we do not want, the gifts that God does seem to keep on giving, even though we say, no, thank you very much, we don't want that. But they are incredibly helpful to us, and pain and heartache can teach us about compassion. It can teach us about empathy. It can teach us about sympathy. It can teach us that, you know, I never understand this nature versus nurture thing. Al, I don't know about you, but this nature versus nurture thing, you know, if you were mistreated and caused pain when you were younger, you know, wouldn't that mean that you were more inclined to make sure that your children and the people who you dealt with did not suffer the same as you? I don't get it when people say, oh, well, he was abused as a child, so therefore he abuses. I think that's just a a lousy excuse for somebody to just be a mean, horrible person. Because if you truly have been abused and you've truly been, you've suffered and in pain, then you know perfectly well that you would never ever want anyone else to suffer the same as you. What do you think?
I think certain people blame who they are on their past and don't grow, and others reflect on who they were or what happened to them in their past and grow and become a better person.
Yeah, I mean, as you've all heard me say before, I'm so grateful to my parents. I know people who know me and know my story raise their eyebrows and say, well, how can that possibly be? I am so grateful to my parents, truly thankful for my parents, because they taught me how not to be. Having said that, I embrace that lesson. So I think we have to embrace the lessons that we're given, good or bad, and let them teach us how to be or how not to be. I feel like to be or not to be. I feel like I'm going to, burst into some Shakespearean thing. Let's have another question, Carolyn.
Noreen has a question. Noreen,
good morning, Noreen.
Good morning, Rosemary and friends. My mother-in-law passed this morning at 4:12 a.m. Can you tell me who came to be her heavenly guide?
Well, I can't specifically tell you who came to be her guide, because that's what we try not to do so much here. But I do know that, do I know though? Wait a minute, I've got to check it, because it's so easy to say I do know her angels were around her, but actually I don't know. So I've got to check with my guide, who does assure me, Noreen, that the message is she was lifted and carried safely. So I know that she did have her angels with her, Noreen, and I hope that helps you. I'm very sad for your loss, but we do understand, and I'm pretty sure because of your question that death is not the end; it's the beginning. So let's have another question now.
Randy asks,
good morning, Randy.
What are your thoughts on tarot cards?
Oh,
Yesterday,
I had a conversation with someone who went to see, I'm going to use this term extremely loosely, went to see a medium who helped her to buy, apparently, a pack of tarot cards and also a pendulum. So let me say right up front, for all of those who may not approve of me saying this, and for all of those who may disagree with me, a true medium, will never suggest to anyone that they should go out and buy a pack of tarot cards. It is the most dangerous and the most awful thing that you can do. Now, tarot cards used in the right way by the right person, responsible, caring, and understanding and knowledgeable about the art, because it is an ancient art, can be very valuable if the right person is using them. But we do know, don't we, that they're handed out willy-nilly. And of course, we had someone who actually came on this show last week to say that they had an awful experience with tarot cards. And I did speak to that person yesterday and suggested throw them away. Don't put them in a drawer. Don't keep them somewhere where you might bring them out at some point. Throw them away, because you're not capable of using them. You don't have the knowledge. And so therefore, it's like anything else. You give a man a scalpel and you say, here you go, this person needs a heart transplant. Without any training, what is he going to do? It's going to kill that person. It's going to cause so much damage. You don't do that. You don't give tools to somebody who doesn't know how to use them. So there you are. I think that makes it clear, right? Whose turn is it? Al, is it your turn? You have a question?
Albertine has a comment. She says, thank you for the answer and a hug for your lovely puppy. We have James had a couple follow-up questions too, but one is an interesting one. they're both interesting, but one is more interesting to me. What was the reaction when you showed?
You shouldn't say that, Al.
I know I shouldn't.
Really interesting people. Go ahead.
What was the reaction when you showed natural abilities? Did you get shunned at all?
Oh, you need to read the Eagle and the Rose, because that will tell you all about me, James. You're
What-
obviously a newcomer to perhaps to me or to this. Shunned would not be the word I would use. Ostracized might be, but that happened actually before I, let's say, before I came out. Once I was out, it was amazing how embraced I was by so many people who, in England, I don't know if it was the same here, but in England, nobody ever talked about this subject. There was a time in the sort of, and let's say before the 80s, even in the 70s, there was a time when people might talk about it, but only in whispers and so on. But you guarantee if there were a group of you and you went to the pub or you had a party or something and people sat down and started talking, you could absolutely guarantee that somebody would always mention something, and then somebody else would say, well, I had an experience, and then everybody would start talking about it. But the subject was a little bit taboo, not like today when we can talk about anything we want, and sometimes we talk about things that people don't even want to hear about. Maybe there's a little bit too much freedom. I really dislike it when people use Twitter or they use Instagram or they use any form of social media and they have no care or thought for other people's sensitivities. Can we have a bit less swearing and a bit less of the F word? I find it so offensive. Not that I'm above using naughty words myself from time to time, but don't put it out there for everybody to read. Have a little bit of sensitivity and have a little bit of respect for other people. I don't know where that came from. Let's have another question, Carolyn.
Gigi has a question.
Good morning, Gigi.
After giving birth 2 years ago with preeclampsia, I developed an itch all over my body, which comes and goes.
Right.
Doctors have no idea why. Do you have any insights as to why? Thank you.
I don't have any insults, but I do have some insults. Who is this person?
Gigi.
Gigi. My daughter had the same situation, and it can be very, very dangerous, but I'm glad to see you're up and about and okay. I think you need to go see some sort of a dermatologist. It could be something that you're eating. It could be connected with when you get anxious. In fact, I'm going with that one because I'm listening to Grey Eagle. So I think it has a lot to do with, the times when you're anxious or when you have anxiety. I'm going to suggest in those times that there are lots of, I have a healing CD that is perfect for people to relax. You don't have to get mine. There are trillions of them out there. Or just simply sitting down quietly with music. You need to find something that's going to relax you and chill you out and bring you down, darling. Because I think it's to do with anxiety. And when you get anxious and you get worked up, your body really, really gets sort of, it affects everything in your body. Your blood gets heated, so on and so forth. So I think you need to sort of look in that area and see if you can find something that totally relaxes you. This is a question. This is a one of those times when, mind over matter, really putting yourself in a situation, understanding what's happening, and then putting yourself in a situation where you can heal yourself by staying calm, by listening to a healing meditation, by sort of being able to chill out. We have four CDs to choose from, but again, you can go on Amazon and find something, or you can maybe even root around in your own cupboard and find something that you can listen to that's nice and calming. Let's have another question.
So we have Sarah here, who was on either last week or the week before about a job. She said, "Good morning, everyone. I didn't get the job I applied for, and I'm fine with that, really. But the reason why is hurtful and doesn't make any sense. It smells like nepotism. How do I best cope with that?"
again, this is not about you, is it? This is about other people and other people's narrow-minded views, other people's ideas of what it is that they want. If this is true, what you're saying is true, the truth, don't let it hurt you, darling, because it's not you at all, it's them. They probably already had somebody in mind but were forced to advertise anyway, and that happens a lot because in companies I think there is some sort of a law that you do have to advertise and you do have to, put the job out there, even if you do have someone already in place. And I think that stinks a bit, but at the same time, it's not about you, so don't take it personally and just keep trying. Sarah, you can do this. Carolyn.
Twiggy Leaf had a little follow-up to her question.
Yes,
what
Twiggy
do you do
Leaf,
when you're
yes.
mad? She says, like when you're in the thick of it, I mean when you're in it. And I just had a little comment. To me, that's when soul signs comes in handy. Because if you know the other person's soul sign, sometimes you realize that it's not you at all. It's just them.
Yeah, sometimes people just can't help behaving the way that they do. Okay, this is really hard though, because I do have a little trick that I use, because I am not a person who loses her temper. Very rarely do I lose my temper. And if I lose my temper, which has been known on occasion, it's not very nice. And it's not because I'm shouting. It's because what I do in certain situations, as you suggested, Twiggy, I have an ability to simply, when I hear people or see people doing things I don't like, or in those likely moments when I'm in the thick of a thing, I'm able to literally, on an emotional level, I step back, and I take a breath. And we all can learn to do this. Now, stepping back and taking a breath does not mean that I'm not involved, but it does mean that I'm able to step back and listen clearly to what is being said, to what is going on. Then I'll make a decision. And I do this literally as I'm stepping back and I'm listening. Sometimes that decision is I'll walk away because it's got nothing to do with me and I'm not interested in what's going on. And the best thing I can do is to just go away from this negative energy. Sometimes, though, I'll make a decision that I do need to step in, that it is affecting me, or that meanness or unfairness is going on, in which case I do need to step in. But I will step in gently, and I will step in kindly, and I will step in nicely. As is the case of, and I've told this story before, I was in a restaurant and I saw a little girl being really badly mistreated by her grandmother, who was screaming at her. This little girl had slipped in a chair and smacked her underside of her chin on the table, and it must have hurt. And she screamed and screamed and screamed, and the grandmother's response was to smack the kid over the head and tell her to shut up and start sort of screaming at her and so on. The little girl ran out of the cafe screaming, with the grandmother screaming obscenities behind her. This is in a very busy restaurant at lunchtime, and I was with friends of mine, and I watched all of this going on. And of course, I'm stepping back and I'm listening and I'm watching. And at some point, then the grandmother got up and moved to the door. And I said to my friends, stay right here, I'll be right back. And they knew me well enough to know that I was going to do something or say something, because I cannot allow meanness or injustice without saying something. So I followed the lady outside, and as she got outside the door, I very gently and nicely said to her, "Excuse me, can I have a word with you?" And she sort of looked at me. She was not very approachable. I have to tell you, she was much bigger than me, I can also tell you. I said, "Can I have a word with you?" And she looked at me and I said, "She's just a little girl. she's a little girl. She got hurt, and I know it's difficult because it's you've got things going on. It's not easy always to be patient. But if you could remember, she's just a little girl, and all she needs is lots of loving and some kindness. And she looked at me and she blinked a few times, and then I turned around and went back into the restaurant. Of course, a few, perhaps a half an hour or something later, the entire family came across the square. We were outside by this time, came across the square, and this woman I'd spoken to was screaming at her mother. They were a big family. I mean, a big family, big family. And that's her pointing at me, screaming across the square. And the mother was screaming, right, we're going to get her, sort of thing. So okay. So I turned around, I rolled my sleeves up, and I walked purposely towards them because I'm happy not to scream and yell, not to have a fight, but to quietly say, look, she's just a little girl. And they saw me coming, and for whatever reason, as cowards and bullies mostly do, for whatever reason, as I walked across the square, purposely walking towards them, and they're walking purposely towards me. It was kind of like that standoff, the cowboy thing. It's like you're expecting guns to be drawn. This is a true story. I swear it's a true story. I know it's hard to believe, but at some point, without saying anything to each other, it was almost a collective mind thought. They all turned and ran the other way. I mean, I was happy to talk to them, but they were not happy to talk to me. Sometimes bullies need to be looked in the eye, and please don't do that. But don't approach people aggressively. Just be nice, but step back, take a breath, step back, and then you can see the situation much more clearly. Who's next? Carolyn. I don't know. Al, you got a question there?
Sure, we have. I have to actually jump off in a few minutes because I have to follow up with these folks here fixing stuff.
Okay.
But we have Vicky continuing a saga of my home for sale and purchasing a new house. It still hasn't sold, meaning I think her house she's in now, and I'm taking that as a sign that wasn't my new house. I guess the one she wants to purchase. Going to try and buy a different house. Is the universe talking to me?
Yeah, I firmly believe. I really do believe this because my experiences showed me that it's true. I firmly believe that your name, a certain person's name is on a certain house. If that house is meant for you, you will get it no matter what, no matter the odds, you'll get it. If that person's house is not meant for you, you will not get it no matter how much you try. And I have had so many personal experiences of this that I firmly believe it. So if you didn't get that house, take a breath, take a deep sigh and say, whoa, good, because there's obviously a reason for it. But don't give up hope. Your house will show itself to you when it's the right time. Carolyn.
Dean,
we're going to say bye to Al then. Thanks, Al, for joining us. I know it's difficult for you with all the workmen going on in your house. So
Yes, thank you guys. I'll see you.
bye, Al.
I'll see you tomorrow, Al.
Yes,
You.
yes, and we have Danny lined up for that, Rosemary. So
Oh, good. Oh, good. And Danny is the brother of his sister. His sister
Vicky his sister Vicky has Down syndrome. Yep.
We're going to be talking more about that because we had such a big response when we did it last time. So that's 6 o'clock Standard Eastern Time. That's New York time. 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, Friday evening. Looking forward to that, Al. Okay.
Take care.
Bye, darlings. Bye. Let's have a.
So Dean had a comment, which was.
Good morning, Dean.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, she's lost you.
Well, they're spread out. He says retrospectives have the hardest time with getting rid of negative energy, but not impossible, of course. And then he asked, are retrospectives any harder to do a consultation for? All other mediums except for Rosemary have had trouble on consultations, looking at me and see nothing.
Oh,
Or
no.
maybe the others were not that good.
Maybe the others were not that good, Dean. First of all, let's just explain to those of you listening, thinking, what is a retrospective then? We're back to soul signs, and Carolyn is so excited because we're back to soul signs because it's her favorite book that I ever wrote. And there is a fire sign, which is a retrospective soul, a retrospective soul is that person who is always looking at the glass half empty rather than half full. When I say always, yes, Dean, as you know, it is possible to turn that around with hard work, but retrospective souls do have a very difficult time seeing the positive more than they see the negative, because their energy is to go to the negative first. So is it possible? I think the question was what was it? The question?
Is it possible?
Can you do a consultation for
Yes.
can mediums?
Are they the hardest?
No. I'm speaking only for me. I'm not speaking for other mediums, but no, you were easy peasy, Al, and all that. Sorry, not Al. You were easy peasy, Dean. I didn't have any trouble with you. Actually, funnily enough, I do think it depends on the energy of the medium as well. Of course, I am an earth sign. So earth signs and fire signs tend to clash, because they're such opposite types of energy. But having said that, I'm asking Grey Eagle, is it actually, is there a difference here? And no. So if you're a medium and you're able to talk to people in the spirit world, don't forget, Dean, that people in the spirit world are not necessarily retrospective souls. We have lots of different soul signs and soul types who mediums talk to in the spirit world. So, it's only you who might have difficulty with what we have to say to you, not us who are able to connect with you and to connect with your loved ones. But I will say this about Dean, because most people don't know it. I'm not going to spill your secrets, as you know. I would never do that, Dean. But Dean is one of those clients who came to me for a consultation, not only took what was given to him by his family and friends in the spirit world, but he took it, he ran with it, he used it, and darling, you changed your life around for the better, for the positive, and that is a hard thing for anyone to do, let alone a retrospective soul. So kudos to you. You're I consider you one of my successes. All right, Carolyn, let's have another question.
James asks,
Good morning,
Rosemary,
James again.
Yes. Yeah. Could Rosemary speak of maybe a couple of her favorite iconic mediums? Do you have any?
Not a medium, but Harry Edwards was a phenomenal healer, and of course, oh gosh, his name is, how can I forget? I'm thinking of another healer who has a center in the US. I cannot believe that my brain has just disappeared on me. Fantastic healer, an amazing organization that he had, helping people all over the world. So that's Harry Edwards. And Estelle Roberts. And if anybody wants a really, really good read, a really great read, of course, Estelle Roberts is no longer with us. She wrote a book. Now, this is when I was in my late 20s or early 30s. The book was called 40 Years a Medium. I do believe since then it has been republished, 50 Years a Medium. Estelle Roberts is no longer with us, but and I never met her, but her book is a real inspiration, and at a time when I needed help and I needed guidance and I needed to find people who were a little bit like me. I've never found anybody who's quite like me, I have to tell you, but Estelle Roberts was reading her book, 40 Years a Medium, although you might find it now 50 Years a Medium. You can actually go to there's a there's a psychic bookshop in London, which is, it's called actually the Psychic Bookshop in London, where they'll find all sorts of things for you, or you can go to your local library and see if they'll find it. Oh, of course, now we have Google, don't we? So you can find Estelle Roberts and 40 or 50 Years of Medium, depending which edition you get. And I did find her inspirational at that time when I needed something. So hope that's helped you a bit, James.
Jen has a question.
Jen, good morning.
Wondering about dream catchers.
Aha.
What does Grey Eagle think about them?
He's laughing already, had his hand on my shoulder as we're talking here. Of course, we all know that dream catchers are what the Native Americans used to use. And again, it's, you know, yes, the natives made dream catchers. People have them now. All sorts of people make them now. And yes, do they catch your dreams? Are they able to catch your dreams? What happens is, it's not the dream catcher itself, it is the idea of it. It's your mind working with this, holding on to your dreams and catching your dreams. And the dream catcher itself is simply the tool that we use so that our mind can work, our energy can work, and we can catch our dreams. I had an amazing dream vision the other morning, just 2 or 3 days ago. Actually, I can't tell any of you about it, but once I find, and somebody's working on it for me, but once I find more information about my dream vision, and I can confirm it, because I'm pretty sure it's accurate, but once I can actually confirm it, I might even talk about it to you. But in the meantime, if dream catchers help you and inspire you to create within your mind a visualization of catching those dreams which are special to you, because, you know, connection with the spirit world is often, you know, someone coming to you in your sleep state. We think it's a dream, but is it real? But it felt, you know, it's a dream, but felt so real, and so on, back and forth. But we've talked about that before. So if dream catchers do help you to understand more about your dreams, why not use them as a tool? Next question.
Roxanne has a question.
Good morning, Roxanne.
I have soul signs, but I thought Rosemary said something about not reading too much. So could you explain the golden rule, please?
Okay. As far as soul signs is concerned, I should let Carolyn, she knows more about soul signs than I do. Not really, no. But she's so into it. I think it's the Bible you carry around with you wherever you go, right? Here is the golden rule. As far as if you buy the book Soul Signs, which if you email us, we can tell you exactly where to get it from. If you read that book, there's so much information contained in that book. But when you start to figure out which soul sign you are, and then which soul sign your loved ones are or your friends are, you have to follow the golden rule. And the golden rule, my darling, is simply this. Soul Science talks about how souls are created, how there are certain pockets of energy within the universe. With that certain different types of energy, how the soul is created from these certain types of energy. So there are basically 5 pockets of energy within the universe. So first, it's so tempting, I know, because there's a whole list in the book. It talks about the 13 soul signs. And you just want to get to each one of them. But what will happen is, if you go through all 12 or 13 of those soul signs, you'll say to yourself, oh, that's me. Oh, wait a minute, that's me. Hang on, but that's me. And you'll be so confused at the end of it. So the golden rule is, first determine, are you an earth sign? Are you an air sign? Are you a water sign? Or are you a fire sign? We're going to ignore the 5th one. So which of those energy groups do you fit in? And it's very clear and it's very specific in the book. So you can, and sometimes you'll immediately eliminate 2 of those possibilities, right? They're done. So let's say you have 2 left. Maybe you're an earth sign, or maybe you are a water sign. Then you go through and you be very strict with yourself until you figure out, as in my case, I'm an earth sign, right? Now, once you figure out your soul group, then you only have 3 choices, 3 soul signs to choose from, instead of having to choose from all of them and getting really confused, because we are all so much alike in so many ways. So instead of reading all of them and thinking, well, that's me, but that's like me, but that's like me, and so on, you now only have, once you found your soul group, you have 3 soul signs. One of those soul signs you will immediately dismiss. You'll know it's not you, and you've got 2 left, and then you just have to work through and answer the questions. And what I did with a friend of mine, because she couldn't figure out, she was trying to figure out, was she a warrior soul or was she a visionary soul? And so what we did was we went through the book. It gives all the character traits. Are you more like this than this, more like this? And we made a list, and it became very apparent that the list of character traits for the visionary soul were way above, for her, way more than the character traits of the warrior soul. And there you have it. So follow the golden rule. The golden rule is, first choose your group. What type of energy are you? Are you an earth sign, a fire sign, an air sign, or a water sign? Which one of those are you? Once you've determined that, and don't read too much in the other stuff, which is what I'm saying. Don't read all the other stuff about the other soul signs until you've figured out your soul group. And then you have 3 choices. Eliminate one straight away and then work on the other 2. You'll figure it out. It should leap out and bite you in the bottom. You should have no difficulties figuring it out, right, Carolyn?
That's true.
All right, let's have our next question. I hope that helped you, my lovely.
Twiggy Leaf has a fun question.
Okay, let's have a fun question. Do we have any comments in there as well, Carolyn? I mean, let's have the...
Warburton is saying hello. Good to see you.
Hi, babes.
Well, she was commenting they were awful true when I was there. I'm not sure what she was talking in regards to.
Be more specific, Kay. What was Twiggy's fun question?
Twiggy's fun question is, I want to know if Rosemary has read or watched Good Omens. It's about an angel and a demon working together to stop Armageddon.
It is
wildly inaccurate, but very funny.
It is on my list of things to watch because it does look funny. But, you know, of course it's wildly inaccurate. It's a TV show. What do you want? What is it? This has episodes and so on. But I have seen it, and I might even take a peek or 2 there. But if anybody wants to take these things literally as real, then, you know, then get a grip, keep your feet on the ground, and you know, don't be fooled into thinking that things that are fiction are anything more than fiction. Yes, Carolyn, go ahead.
James is asking, how did you get on Oprah?
James, I would love to know more about you because you've got all these phenomenal questions that you're asking. So how did I get on Oprah? I had a good publicity people. I had Warner Books. My first book was published with Warner Books, and they had a publicity team. And I don't know, honestly, if they begged, if they borrowed, or if they stole anything. I've no idea how I got on. It was obviously meant to be. The same with the Larry King show. And I love Larry King, and he's had me on his show so many times, and he's such a great interviewer. Now, there is a person who really knows how to interview. Good for you, Larry. I hope you're doing okay. Of course, I don't think he's listening to my little show. But anyway, let's, anything else we've got here?
Yeah. She was referring to the child in the cafe.
Oh, yeah.
Rufford Park years ago.
Rufford Park. It was, you're right, Kay. Yeah, it was Kay, my friend Kay, and her 3 girls were there at the time. And when I actually said, stay there, I'll be back in a minute. I don't know if you remember this, Kay, but your girls' eyes widened in their heads because they knew somebody was going to get it one way or another. But is she saying it was awful? Because it really was awful, wasn't it?
Yes, she did.
But what she's also confirming is the fact that, you know, we did sort of, you know, cross the plaza towards each other with the woman, the grandmother, whoever it was, rolling up her sleeves and coming to get me. and and the fisticuff thing, yeah. And and it was so funny because there was a whole crowd of them, and uh, and then there was me, and I'm I like to avoid confrontations. We talked earlier about, what you do in a situation where there's a whole crowd of you, right? And you're all sort of, this stuff going on. And what did I say? I said, I stand back, I take a breath, which actually is what I did. And when I saw this woman coming for me, the whole family coming behind because they were round to go and round for a fight, because they obviously thought that when I said, she's just a little girl and she just needs lots of love and gentleness, they obviously took that as a slight of some kind, whereas I think it was just simply the truth. But even in that moment, you take a breath, but you have to follow your convictions. I do like to think, I mean, I know it's silly, and I know, but when I was growing up, I was very involved with my church, and we read Bible stories all the time. And I always loved the story about Daniel in the lion's den, where the Christians walked into the lion's den and were torn to pieces by lions because of their belief and their faith. So in other words, they stood up. And I always, as I was a kid, liked to think that I would be so brave for my convictions. Walking across that plaza might have been one of those walking into the lion's den sort of thing. Luckily, I was not torn to pieces by lions, but I think, if more of us were to stand up nicely, kindly, gently for our convictions, to stand up and defend others who cannot defend themselves, kindly, nicely, and in a gentle way, I think this world would be a far, far better place. And thank you, Kay. I think that Kay and her girls, had I been torn to pieces on that plaza that day, I'm sure that Kay and her girls would have come to my rescue at some point or another. Do we have any comments? Any?
Kay was saying, she said we were ready for them. Put them up.
Okay.
And Linda says,
good morning, Linda.
I love Rosemary on the Lisa show.
Oh, thank you. Lisa Gibbons.
And my friend passed yesterday morning. Any insights about his passing?
No, not right now. No, but thank you. But thank you for joining in, and thank you for the question. There is a little insight. I'm hearing Gregor say he's safe, so that's good. So I hope that's helpful to you. And unfortunately, I'd love to have more time to do these things, but we don't have enough time, I'm afraid.
It is almost time.
I know.
Everybody is chatting about soul signs, though. It's going to be a couple people's next purchase.
Well, all right. Let's please Carolyn. I do have a little bit of information. Poor Carolyn. She's leaving me. She's disappearing because she don't start crying. Because they moved house, and now it's too far for her to travel I don't pay her very much, so she can't afford to travel. And I refuse to pay her anymore because otherwise I'd be broke. So, so is that right, Carolyn?
Sums it up.
Yeah. So anyway, so she'll be here next week. I think it's going to be your last week, is it?
Yes.
Next week is going to be Karen's last week. She's been great. I know that she's always there fielding questions. She's always been on email and doing a brilliant job in the office, answering emails and so on. And she will be missed only because I have to share everything with her. She eats my chicken salad all the time. So it's like I make chicken salad, and instead of it lasting 4 days, it only lasts 2. Right?
That is true.
So we're going to be talking to her next week, and she will be able to say her goodbyes, but we don't want any more tears or all the rest of it. We do have, however, we have a lovely replacement, Michelle. Michelle is terrified of getting on camera, but Michelle, would you like to say hello to everybody?
Hi.
Did they hear you? Hi, she says. She's very sweet, she's very nice. She's going to take Karen's place. Karen is training her up. How's the training going so far?
I'm pretty good with it.
Yeah, she is. She's pretty good with it. She scares the pants off of me. It's very efficient. So anyway, so that's our news. So we will be sorry to lose Carolyn, but we are thrilled to be welcoming Michelle. Is there anything else, Carolyn, that you would like to say this week? Questions, anything?
No. Some people are just saying thank you to me. So
that's thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was very sweet. Thank you, everybody.
yeah. You want
I'm
to say
done
anything
talking.
else?
No.
No, she's. I don't know what we're going to do next week when she's blubbering as she goes out the door. But we will still be in touch with her. She will be keeping tabs on us, I'm sure, and she's already assured us if we need help in any way, shape, or form, we can call on her, which is lovely. She's been with me now for 4.5 years, almost 5 years. So it's going to be huge changes. Anyway, so if you want to sort of send Carolyn a goodbye or a wave or something, you can email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, and she'll see it there. If you want to send her flowers or dark chocolate cherries, please send them to me. Yeah, I'll receive them for her willingly. So we always have lots of fun on this show. Thank you, all of you. Is there any more comments? Anything you want to before we say?
No.
There's this wonderful comedy duo. Actually, there were probably a trio when I think about it. The three Ronnies, they were called. There was a short one, a medium one, and a very tall one. But the short one and the medium one, when they did their show, they'd always have this song that they'd end with. Goodbye, goodbye, wipe a tear, baby dear, from your eye. So that's it. That's all I'm doing. So we shall hopefully see you again next week with your questions. Try to get your questions in early. That means that we're able to, answer them. We take each person. We try to take each person as they come. There are no favorites going on here. Thank you very much for today. We've had some great questions. Thank you, James, especially because all those questions that you've sort of sent over to us. If you want to know more about me, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. Read my first book, The Eagle and the Rose, which was a New York Times bestseller, and is still 23 years later almost, still going strong, and is still being sold in stores. It's now considered a classic. The new book, A Walk in the Clouds, we have that came out just a couple of months ago. Let me think. Soul Signs. I know you're all talking about Soul Signs. It's an amazing book and it's an amazing concept. And I was very fortunate to have Gregor to teach me all about that. It is truly a way of, and I say this with all humility because I know I wrote it, but it is truly a way of figuring out your own energy, your own type of energy. It is truly a way of figuring out other people's energy. It's truly a way of figuring out relationships, whether a relationship is good for you or not good for you, why your father loved you more than he loved your sister, why your mother loved your brother more than she loved you. It's all about energy and combining energy and different energies really getting on well together or clashing. So it explains all of those things. It's an amazing book, and it really is truly a massive help. I use it with my daughter. I use it with my grandson, who is an earth sign. My daughter is an earth sign. Wow, all these earth signs in one place. Isn't that amazing? So what else is there? We do online classes if you want to know more about those. We are going to have another intake probably October or November. If you want to know more about that, you can't actually sign up at the moment, but you can email us again. Email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, and Carolyn will be fielding those emails through next week with the help of Michelle, and then Michelle is all on her own, so we have to be really nice to her and help her as much as we can. So
everything is attitude. You have a guest.
Oh, thank you. And see, what am I going to do without her? Friday night, tomorrow night, we do have a guest. Everything is attitude. It's 6 o'clock Standard Eastern Time. That is New York time, for those of you who don't know what Standard Eastern time is, 6 o'clock. And we do have a guest. We were talking a few weeks ago about special children, children with special needs, who are in fact special children. Are they earth angels or are they not earth angels? What is an earth angel? We were discussing something of that. We're going to have more of a discussion. We have on tomorrow night, we have a guest on who is the brother of a Down syndrome girl. He's going to tell us what that's like, what it does for him, what it has done for his family. He's going to talk about, you know, how it affected them all. So that's going to be really interesting. And we're going to see how his attitude and how the attitude of his family were either positive or negative. You'll have to wait and see for that. In the meantime, until I see you all again, keep watching, keep listening, keep looking. You'll find me on Instagram, you'll find me on Twitter, you'll find me all over the place, Facebook, anywhere and everywhere. Until I see you again, I've got to find that little arrow. Until I see you again, thank you all for joining me. Please, please, please have a very, very, very blessed day. I don't think I caught it quite.